Emma Brown was a 25-year-old teacher from a small town in Ohio. She had saved money for 3 years to visit London, England. It was her biggest dream since she was a little girl. Her grandfather had told her stories about London's beautiful buildings, red buses, and the famous royal guards in their bright red coats and tall black hats. After a long flight across the ocean, Emma finally arrived in London. The city was big, busy, and full of life. She checked into a small hotel near the center of the city. Her room was tiny, but she didn't mind. She was too excited to see all the famous places she had only seen in pictures and movies. On her first morning in London, Emma woke up early. She couldn't wait any longer. She ate a quick breakfast at the hotel and then looked at her map. Buckingham Palace, where the Queen of England lived, was first on her list. Emma wanted to see the royal guards more than anything else. Emma took the underground train, which people in London called the Tube. She followed the crowds of people coming out of the station. Many of them were tourists like her, holding maps and cameras. After walking for 15 minutes, she saw the large iron gates of Buckingham Palace in the distance. Her heart beat faster as she got closer. There were hundreds of people standing outside the gates, all trying to get a good view. Emma pushed her way through gently until she was near the front. And there they were, the royal guards, standing perfectly still in their famous red coats and tall black bearskin hats. Emma could hardly believe her eyes. The guards looked exactly like the pictures she had seen. They stood completely still, like statues. Their faces showed no emotion. Their eyes looked straight ahead. They didn't move, blink, or react to the noisy tourists around them. A young man next to Emma was trying to make a guard laugh. He made funny faces and told jokes. But the guard didn't smile or even look at him. Emma was amazed by the guard's discipline. How could anyone stand so still for so long? How could they ignore all these people trying to distract them? While watching the guards, Emma noticed a small girl with her family nearby. The girl, who looked about 7 years old, was clearly from another country. She was speaking a language Emma didn't understand, maybe Spanish or Italian. The little girl was jumping up and down with excitement, pointing at the guards and pulling on her mother's hand. Then something unexpected happened. The little girl broke away from her mother and ran right up to one of the guards. Everyone gasped. Tourists weren't supposed to get that close to the guards. The girl's mother called out and started to run after her daughter, looking worried and embarrassed. The guard stood still, face forward, not reacting at all. The little girl looked up at him with big, curious eyes. She said something in her language, but the guard didn't respond. Then, very slowly, she reached out her small hand and touched the guard's shiny black boot. The crowd went silent. Everyone waited to see what would happen next. The guard was supposed to ignore all distractions. That was their famous rule. But what would happen when a small child touched them? Would they call for help? Would they step away? Would they break their famous silence? Emma held her breath along with everyone else. The mother had almost reached her daughter, her face red with embarrassment. And then, to everyone's complete surprise, the royal guard moved. The crowd watched in silence as the royal guard moved. It was a small movement, but in the world of royal guards, it was huge. The guard looked down at the little girl. His face, which had been like stone, softened just a bit. He bent one knee, lowering himself to the girl's level. People gasped. Phones came out to record this rare moment. The royal guards never broke their stance. It was against all rules. But here was this guard, bending down to a small child. The girl's mother reached them now. She spoke quickly in her language, clearly saying sorry. She tried to pull her daughter away, but the guard raised his hand slightly, telling her to wait. Then, to everyone's surprise, he spoke. His voice was deep but kind. He spoke in the same language as the little girl and her mother. The girl's eyes grew wide with wonder. A big smile spread across her face. The guard reached inside his red coat and pulled out a small pin. It was shaped like his hat, a tiny version of the famous bearskin. He pinned it gently to the girl's coat. Then he stood back up, straight and tall, returning to his proper position. The girl looked at her new pin with pure joy. Her mother thanked the guard many times. Then they moved away, back into the crowd. The girl waved goodbye, but the guard was now still again, looking ahead as if nothing had happened. Emma couldn't believe what she had just seen. Neither could anyone else. People were talking excitedly all around her. Some were showing each other the videos they had taken. Others were telling the story to people who had missed it. "Did you see that?" a man next to Emma asked. "In my 30 years of coming to London, I've never seen a guard break form like that." "What language was he speaking?" Emma asked. "Portuguese, I think," the man said. "That family is from Brazil. The guard must know their language." Emma was amazed. Not only had the guard broken the strict rules of his job, but he had also spoken to visitors in their own language. How many languages did these guards know? How much training did they have that people didn't see? As the crowd started to move again, Emma stayed in place. She couldn't take her eyes off the guard who had shown such kindness. On the outside, he was back to being perfectly still. His face showed no emotion, but Emma knew there was more to him than just a uniform and a strict set of rules. An older man in a suit approached the guard. He looked official, maybe a boss or manager of some kind. He spoke quietly to the guard. Emma was sure the guard would be in trouble for breaking the rules. But then the official man smiled and patted the guard on the shoulder. He didn't seem angry at all. In fact, he looked proud. The man walked away, and the guard remained at his post. A tour guide nearby was now telling his group about what they had just seen. "The Royal Guards are known for their discipline," he said, "but they are also representatives of the royal family, and the royal family values kindness and goodwill to visitors from all nations. What you just witnessed was rare, but it shows the true spirit of Britain's welcome to the world." Emma decided to stay at the palace a bit longer. The morning sun was getting warmer, and more tourists were arriving. But Emma didn't want to leave yet. Something told her there might be more to see, more to learn about these guards who stood so still but clearly had hearts that could be moved. And she was right to stay, because what happened next was even more surprising than the first guard's kindness to the little girl. Emma found a bench nearby and sat down. The sun was warm on her face. More tourists were coming to see the palace and the guards. Emma watched as they took pictures and tried to make the guards smile or move. None of the other guards reacted. They stood still like statues. After about an hour, Emma noticed something strange. A very old man was slowly walking toward the palace gates. He used a walking stick and moved with great effort. He wore an old jacket with many military medals pinned to the chest. The old man had white hair and deep wrinkles on his face. He looked to be at least 90 years old. The old man stopped in front of one of the guards. This was a different guard from the one who had been kind to the little girl. The old man stood straight, which seemed hard for him, and gave a perfect military salute to the guard. The guard didn't move or respond. The old man held his salute for a long time. His hand began to shake from the effort. Still, the guard did not react. Emma felt sad for the old man. He was clearly a soldier once, maybe even a royal guard himself many years ago. Then the old man's legs seemed to give out. He started to fall. People nearby gasped, but they were too far away to help. Emma jumped up from her bench, but she knew she couldn't reach him in time. In a flash of red, the guard moved. He stepped forward and caught the old man before he hit the ground. With strong arms, he helped the old man stand up again. Unlike with the little girl, this time the guard's face stayed serious, but his actions spoke louder than any smile could. "Thank you, son," the old man said in a weak voice that Emma could just barely hear. "I was a Queen's Guard myself, 68 years ago." The guard did something that made the crowd gasp again. He gave the old man a formal salute. It was a perfect military salute, the kind given to respected officers or heroes. The old man's eyes filled with tears. He tried to stand straighter to return the salute. Then another guard stepped away from his post. He walked over and stood on the other side of the old man. Together, the two guards helped the old man walk to a bench. They sat him down gently. One guard stayed with the old man while the other returned to his post. The guard who stayed began to talk quietly with the old man. Emma couldn't hear what they were saying, but she could see the old man smiling and pointing to different medals on his jacket. The guard nodded with respect as the old man spoke. A palace worker in a black suit came out with a glass of water for the old man. Then another worker brought a small chair for the guards so he could sit with the old man. They talked for almost 30 minutes. Emma noticed that tourists were no longer trying to make the guards laugh or move. Everyone watched with respect. Many people were taking pictures, but they stayed back, giving the old man and the guard space to talk. A tour guide explained to his group, "The Queen's guards are soldiers first. They protect the royal family. But they also represent the highest values of our country: respect for elders, kindness to children, and honor for those who served before them." When the old man was ready to leave, the guard helped him stand. He called for a palace car to take the old man home. Before the old man got into the car, the guard took something from his pocket. It was a modern Queen's Guard pin, similar to the one given to the little girl but more official looking. He pinned it next to the old man's medals. As the car drove away, the guard returned to his post. But something was different now. Emma noticed that people were now looking at the royal guards differently. Instead of trying to make them laugh or move, tourists were watching them with respect. The two unexpected acts of kindness had changed how everyone saw these men in red coats. Emma decided to join a tour group to learn more about the royal guards. The tour guide was a short man with glasses named Tom. He had worked at the palace for 20 years. "The guards you see are real soldiers," Tom explained to the group. "They are not just here for show. Many have fought in wars. They take turns standing guard and doing other military duties." A woman in the group raised her hand. "Why aren't they allowed to move or smile?" "It's about discipline and tradition," Tom said. "Their job is to protect the royal family. They must stay focused at all times. But as you saw today, they are also human. In special cases, they can help people who truly need it." Emma raised her hand next. "Do the guards get in trouble when they move or talk like they did today?" Tom smiled. "The rules say they should stay still, but there's an unwritten rule too. Use good judgment. The guards who helped the little girl and the old soldier made good choices. They showed the true spirit of service." As the tour continued, dark clouds rolled in. The sunny day was changing. Soon, rain began to fall. Not just a light rain, but a heavy downpour. People ran for cover, trying to stay dry. Emma didn't have an umbrella. She pulled her jacket over her head and looked for shelter. Many tourists were running to nearby buildings or under trees. But some people were stuck in the open, getting soaked. A school group of young children, maybe 8 or 9 years old, was caught in the rain. Their teachers tried to gather them together, but the children were scared of the sudden storm. Some began to cry. They were wearing only light shirts and shorts, not ready for bad weather. The royal guards remained at their posts despite the rain. Water ran down their red coats and tall hats. They did not move to find shelter. Their duty came first. Then Emma saw something that made her gasp. One of the guards looked at the scared children. He glanced at his fellow guard. They seemed to communicate without words. Then, in perfect unison, both guards stepped away from their posts. They marched over to the school group. The guards removed their large red coats and held them over the children like umbrellas. The coats were huge and could cover several children each. The guards helped the teachers gather all the children under this protection. Another guard spoke into his radio. Minutes later, palace staff came out with large umbrellas. They handed these to the teachers and children. The guards put their wet coats back on and returned to their posts. The school children were no longer scared. Some of them waved and called "thank you" to the guards. The teachers looked grateful and surprised. Emma stood in the rain, getting wet but not caring. She was too amazed by what she was seeing. This was the third act of kindness she had witnessed from the famous stone-faced guards. A palace worker noticed Emma standing alone in the rain. He walked over and offered her an umbrella. "Thank you," Emma said, "but I don't understand. Why is everyone being so kind today?" The worker smiled. "It's a special day, but you'll have to stay to learn why." Emma looked confused. "What's special about today?" "Look at the flag on top of the palace," the worker said, pointing up. Emma looked at the large flag waving in the rainy wind. She didn't understand what made today different from any other day, but she was determined to find out. Emma looked up at the flag on top of Buckingham Palace. It was the royal standard flag, which meant the Queen was inside the palace today. Emma had read about this in her guidebook. When the Queen was away, they flew a different flag. "The Queen is here today?" Emma asked the palace worker. "Yes," he said, "and not just the Queen. Today is the yearly meeting of the Commonwealth leaders. Many important people from around the world are inside right now." Emma understood now why security was tight. With so many important people inside, the guards had to be extra careful. This made their acts of kindness even more special. They were breaking rules on a day when rules mattered most. The rain began to stop. The sky was clearing up again. Emma decided to stay a bit longer. She found a coffee shop across from the palace and sat by the window where she could still see the guards. While drinking her coffee, Emma noticed a man in a wheelchair approaching the palace gates. He was a soldier in uniform. His legs were missing below the knees. He was pushing himself forward with strong arms. A woman walked beside him, probably his wife. The soldier in the wheelchair stopped in front of the palace. He sat up straight and saluted. Like the old man earlier, he was showing respect to the guards and the palace. The guard at that post returned the salute. Then, to Emma's surprise, all the other guards also turned and saluted the man in the wheelchair. It was a moment of perfect unity. The guards were honoring this wounded soldier. Emma wasn't the only one who noticed. Other tourists saw it too. They stepped back, giving space for this special moment. Some people took pictures, but they did it quietly and from a distance. After the salutes, one of the guards walked over to the man in the wheelchair. He bent down and spoke with him. Emma couldn't hear what they were saying, but she saw the guard shake the man's hand with great respect. Then something even more surprising happened. The palace gates opened. A palace official came out and invited the soldier in the wheelchair and his wife to come inside. This was very unusual. Regular tourists were never allowed inside the palace through these gates. As the wounded soldier was wheeled through the gates, the guard stood at perfect attention. It was a guard of honor, the highest sign of respect soldiers can give. Emma turned to a nearby palace worker who was watching. "Why are they letting him in?" "Who is he?" "Captain James Wilson," the worker said. "He saved 12 of his men last year in a battle. Lost both legs doing it. The Queen is giving him a medal today. But he wasn't supposed to come through these gates. The ceremony is around the back of the palace. So why did they let him in here?" Emma asked. "Because he's a hero," the worker said simply. "And today is not just any day. It's the anniversary of the Queen's Guards. They were formed exactly 360 years ago today." Now Emma understood why the guards seemed different today. It was their special day. A day to remember what being a royal guard truly meant. Not just following rules, but showing the best of what it means to serve. As Captain Wilson disappeared inside the palace, people outside began to clap. It started with just a few people, then spread until everyone was applauding. They were clapping for the wounded hero, but also for the guards who had shown such respect. Emma joined in the applause. Her hands stung from clapping so hard, but she didn't care. She had seen something special today, something she would never forget. But the day wasn't over yet. The biggest surprise was still to come. After the wounded soldier went inside the palace, the crowd outside grew larger. Word had spread about the special things happening at Buckingham Palace today. People were sharing videos and pictures on their phones. More tourists and local people came to see what might happen next. Emma finished her coffee and went back outside. The sun was shining again after the rain. The wet ground sparkled in the light. Emma found a good spot to stand near the palace fence. She wanted to see everything. A group of people next to Emma were talking excitedly. They were from many different countries. Emma listened to their conversation. "My sister saw a guard help a lost child find her parents this morning," a woman said. "The child was crying, and the guard broke the rules to help her. I was here when they honored the old veteran," a man added. "I've never seen anything like it." Emma smiled. The kindness of the royal guards was becoming famous. People were no longer coming just to see the guards stand still. They were coming to see their humanity. As Emma was thinking about this, she noticed a small commotion at the edge of the crowd. A young couple was pushing through the people. They looked worried. The woman was holding a piece of paper and asking questions. The man was scanning the crowd anxiously. Emma watched as they approached a police officer. The officer listened to them, then pointed toward the palace gates. The couple hurried in that direction. When they reached the gates, they spoke to one of the guards. Emma was too far away to hear what they said, but she could see their worried faces. The guard listened carefully. Then he spoke into his radio. After a moment, he nodded to the couple and pointed to a spot where they should wait. The crowd watched curiously. Something unusual was happening again. Emma moved closer to hear what was going on. "What's happening?" she asked a woman standing nearby. "That couple lost their wedding rings," the woman explained. "They were taking pictures in front of the palace earlier today." The woman took off her ring to show her new husband's ring in the photo. Then someone bumped into them, and the rings fell. They'd been searching for hours. Emma felt sad for the couple. Losing wedding rings on your honeymoon would be terrible. She watched as more palace staff came out to speak with the couple. Then something amazing happened. 4 royal guards stepped away from their posts. They lined up in a row. A palace official gave them instructions. The guards nodded, and then did something no one expected. They got down on their hands and knees and began searching the ground carefully. Their red coats touched the wet ground as they looked for the tiny rings. More guards joined them until there was a line of 10 guards crawling slowly across the area in front of the palace. Tourists stepped back to give them room. Some people even joined the search, getting on their hands and knees to help. Palace workers brought flashlights to help them see better in the shadowy areas. After 20 minutes of searching, one of the guards suddenly raised his hand. He stood up, holding something small that glinted in the sunlight. The couple rushed over to him. The guard opened his white-gloved hand to show 2 gold rings. The woman burst into tears of joy. Her husband hugged her, then shook the guard's hand repeatedly. The crowd cheered and clapped. The guard gave a small bow, then handed the rings to the couple. The other guards stood up and brushed off their uniforms. They returned to their posts as if nothing unusual had happened. But the crowd knew better. They had witnessed another remarkable act of kindness. The afternoon was getting late. Emma had spent almost the whole day at Buckingham Palace. She had seen 4 amazing acts of kindness from the royal guards. First with the little girl from Brazil, then with the old veteran, next with the school children in the rain, and now with the couple who lost their wedding rings. Emma wondered if she should leave. She had seen so much already, but something told her to stay a little longer. This day felt special, like magic was in the air. As Emma was thinking about this, she heard music. It was coming from around the corner of the palace. People began to move in that direction. Emma followed the crowd, curious about the music. When she turned the corner, she saw a small band of musicians in red coats. They were royal guards too, but these guards played instruments instead of standing watch. They were playing happy, lively music. In front of the band was a large open space. palace workers were setting up chairs in rows. Something was going to happen here. Emma found a spot near the front where she could see well. A palace worker with a microphone stepped forward. "Ladies and gentlemen," she said, "thank you for visiting Buckingham Palace today. As many of you know, today is the 360th anniversary of the Queen's Guards. To celebrate, we have a special show for you." The crowd clapped excitedly. Emma felt lucky. She had come on the perfect day without even knowing it. First, the woman continued, "I want to introduce some special guests." She pointed to a row of seats at the front. Emma was surprised to see the little Brazilian girl and her family, the old veteran, the school children who had been caught in the rain, and the couple who had lost their rings. They had all been invited back for this special event. These people experienced the true spirit of the Queen's Guards today, the woman explained. Duty and kindness working together. The music started again. Then, from around the corner, came a line of royal guards. They marched in perfect time to the music. Their movements were exact and precise. The crowd watched in amazement as the guards performed a complex drill, moving in patterns that looked almost like a dance. The guards' boots hit the ground at exactly the same time. Their red coats flashed in the late afternoon sun. Their tall black hats made them look even more impressive. After the marching display, the guards did something unexpected. They formed a circle and invited the special guests to come inside it. The little girl, the old veteran in his wheelchair, the school children, and the couple all stood in the center of the circle of guards. The head guard stepped forward. He was older than the others, with medals on his chest. He spoke in a loud, clear voice. For 360 years, the Queen's Guards have protected the royal family and welcomed visitors from around the world. Today, we honor that tradition by recognizing these guests, who remind us that behind every uniform is a human heart. Then, in a move that made the crowd gasp, all the guards removed their tall bearskin hats at the same time. This was very rare. The guards almost never removed their hats while on duty. With their hats held over their hearts, the guards bowed to their special guests. It was a powerful moment of respect and humanity. Many people in the crowd had tears in their eyes, including Emma. The special guests looked overwhelmed by the honor. The little girl was jumping with excitement. The old veteran sat up straight in his wheelchair, his face proud. The school children waved happily. The couple held hands, still amazed by all that had happened. But the ceremony wasn't over yet. The biggest surprise was still to come. After the guards put their hats back on, the palace worker with the microphone spoke again. "And now, ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special guest who wants to thank you all for coming today." The crowd looked around, wondering who this special guest might be. Emma stood on her toes, trying to see better. A door at the side of the palace opened. 2 more guards stepped out first. Then, to everyone's shock, the Queen herself walked out into the garden. People gasped. Some even cried out in surprise. The Queen almost never appeared like this without announcement. Emma couldn't believe her eyes. The actual Queen of England was standing just 30 feet away from her. The Queen was smaller than Emma had imagined. She wore a bright blue coat and hat. She walked slowly but with dignity. Her face looked kind. She smiled at the crowd as people bowed and curtsied. The guards stood at perfect attention. The Queen walked to the center of the circle where the special guests were standing. She spoke to each of them. She bent down to talk to the little Brazilian girl. She shook hands with the old veteran. She smiled at the school children and the couple who had lost their rings. A palace worker brought a small microphone for the Queen. Her voice was clear and strong as she spoke to the crowd. For 360 years, the Queen's Guards have served the crown with dedication and honor, she said. But today, they have shown that true service includes kindness and humanity. I am very proud of them. The crowd clapped loudly. The Queen waited for the noise to stop before continuing. "I have been watching from my window," she said, pointing up to the palace. "I saw everything that happened today. I saw guards help a child, honor a veteran, shelter children from rain, and search for lost rings. This is the true meaning of service. Emma felt goosebumps on her arms. The Queen had seen everything, just as she had. They had shared this special day without knowing it. To honor the 360th anniversary of the Queen's Guards, the Queen continued, "I have a special announcement. From this day forward, the Guards will have a new motto, duty with compassion. This will remind us all that strength is best when paired with kindness." The head guard stepped forward and bowed deeply to the Queen. "Thank you, Your Majesty. We are honored to serve." The Queen smiled at him. Then she did something surprising. She walked over to the ordinary tourists in the crowd. She moved slowly along the front row, greeting people. Some were so shocked they could hardly speak. Others managed to say, "Hello, Your Majesty," as she passed. Emma couldn't believe it when the Queen approached her. Up close, the Queen's eyes looked bright and intelligent. Emma curtsied awkwardly, not sure if she was doing it right. "Have you enjoyed your day at the palace?" the Queen asked Emma. "Yes, Your Majesty," Emma said, her voice shaking with excitement. "It's been the most amazing day of my life." The Queen smiled. "I'm glad to hear it. Where are you from, my dear?" "Ohio, in the United States," Emma answered. "You've come a long way," the Queen said. "I hope you will take this story home with you and share it." "I will, Your Majesty," Emma promised. "No one will believe it, but I will tell everyone." The Queen moved on to the next person, but her words stayed with Emma. "Take this story home and share it." Emma knew she would never forget this day. As the sun began to set, casting golden light across the palace grounds, Emma realized she had witnessed something truly special. But there was one final surprise still to come. After the Queen returned inside the palace, people began taking pictures and talking excitedly about what they had seen. Emma stood still, trying to remember every detail of this amazing day. She never wanted to forget anything about it. The head guard stepped forward again. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have one final surprise for you today. Please follow me." The crowd followed the guard around to the front of the palace. The sun was setting now, painting the sky with beautiful colors of orange, pink, and purple. The palace windows glowed with warm light. When everyone was in place, the head guard spoke again. "Throughout history, the Queen's Guards have been known for being serious and unchanging. Today, we showed you our human side. Now we want to give you something that has never happened before." He turned and nodded to the other guards. They formed a straight line in front of the palace. Then, on his signal, they did something that made the crowd gasp. The guards smiled. All at once, every guard broke into a big warm smile. Their serious faces transformed completely. They looked friendly, happy, and kind. It was such a simple thing, but it felt like a miracle to see these famously stone-faced men suddenly beaming at the crowd. People clapped and cheered. Some even had tears in their eyes. The guards held their smiles for a full minute before returning to their serious expressions. It was a moment no one there would ever forget. "Thank you all for being part of this historic day," the head guard said. "You are welcome to stay and watch the sunset over the palace." Many people did stay, including Emma. As darkness fell, something else magical happened. Lights came on around the palace grounds. Not just regular lights, but thousands of tiny twinkling lights in the trees and bushes. They looked like stars that had fallen from the sky. A soft music began to play. The Royal Guard Band returned, this time playing gentle, beautiful songs. People sat on benches or on the grass, enjoying this peaceful end to an extraordinary day. Emma found a quiet spot to sit. She took out her phone and began to write down everything she had seen. She wanted to remember it all. The little Brazilian girl getting a pin, the old veteran receiving a salute, the school children sheltered from rain, the couple finding their wedding rings, the special ceremony, the Queen's visit, and the guard's smiles. As she was writing, a palace worker approached her. He carried a small red box with a gold crown on top. "Excuse me, miss," he said to Emma. "The head guard asked me to give you this." Emma took the box, surprised. Inside was a beautiful pin shaped like a royal guard's hat. It was similar to the one given to the little girl, but this one had words engraved on the back: "Duty with compassion. Buckingham Palace, 360th anniversary." There was also a note that read, "To the young lady from Ohio who washed all day. Thank you for witnessing our true selves. Please share our story." Emma's eyes filled with tears. She had thought no one had noticed her all day. But the guards had seen her watching. They had known she was there, seeing everything. 1 week later, Emma returned to Ohio. She went back to her job as a teacher. On her first day back at school, she gathered her students around her. "I want to tell you a story," she said, touching the guard pin she now wore every day. "A true story about duty and kindness, and royal guards who showed the world what real service means." The children leaned forward, eager to hear her tale. And as Emma began to speak, she kept her promise to the Queen and the guards. She shared their story, a story of unexpected kindness that restored faith in humanity.